Hey everyone, it's been a few years since I last did an AMA video, so thank you so much for sending in all of your questions. I didn't want to cut too much out, and so I decided instead of doing just one video, we're going to do two, so stay tuned for part 2 of the AMA series, and here are my answers to your questions. I actually love reading, and I read so much when I was a kid. My sister and I used to do the summer book programs at the library all the time, and I don't have as much time for reading as I used to unless I'm traveling, like reading on the plane and that sort of thing. But I actually got really into Star Wars audiobooks. There's some amazing performances by this guy named Mark Johnson, and he read the Thrawn trilogy, duology, and all the extra books for Audible. So if you guys haven't checked out Thrawn yet and you're a fan of Star Wars, then that is my #1 recommendation. This is a very big question. There are many things that I personally would love to see change about gaming culture and about the community on Twitch, but I think in general it would just be really nice if people could be a bit kinder and more empathetic toward each other. I think that people find this kind of sense of power in putting other people down, and that is not healthy. So I think it would be best for the people who are on both the receiving and the giving side of that to be able to put that away and just see each other as humans, even if we're on the internet and it seems like there's, a disconnect, but recognizing that we're all human beings and everybody deserves to be treated with respect. Honestly, I think that kind people surround other kind people, and if you have a positive community, then you're going to draw in more people who want that experience on Twitch. I know that there's many large communities that are just spam fests and can be kind of toxic toward the streamer, and that's not necessarily a bad thing if that's what the streamer is okay with and that's what they want for their community. I personally prefer if I can have a bit more of a tight-knit community and people who like to spend time with each other and remember each other's names and that kind of thing. I think it's a nice feeling and it makes me excited to stream every day. So I think one of the ways that you can achieve that as a new streamer is to be kind of strict about the rules and don't be afraid to time people out. And I know that's really hard when you only have a few viewers and you don't want to time them out because they're the people who are watching you, but you don't want toxic people to be setting the tone in your community. You don't want to let them run the show. You're supposed to be in charge as the streamer, and you can't let them just determine what your community is going to be. I don't really set daily goals. I'm not sure if that would be healthy for me personally. I know that there are a lot of people who do that, and I think that focusing too much on the small picture, which is the day-to-day, is not healthy. I know that there are people who say, I want to get 10 subs today, but what happens if you only get 8? How is that going to affect you mentally? And the next day, if you only get 5, that kind of thing. I feel like focusing too much on just those tiny increments is stressful. What I do like to do is try to find something positive to think about at the end of the stream, something good that happened, whether it was, somebody gifted a bunch of subs or somebody came in and said that they were new but they were having a really good time. Just little things like that you can focus on that are positive rather than trying to focus on, did I make this daily goal or did I fail? And trying to kind of put yourself in a more positive mindset. I love this question. I think if I could pick one Twitch streamer to go be stuck with on a desert island, it would probably be Bajira. That dude is 1, super jacked, and 2, very nice. So I could see him being a really good person to be stuck on an island with, because if we needed to cut down a palm tree and build a house or something, I think he would not only be able to do that, but he would be a really fun person to hang out with, and he's also just super nice. I don't know if I have one kind of dream vacation. I think there's a lot of different things that I would like to do. I've never been to Japan, and so I would really love if I could go to Japan and just spend 2 weeks there. I would also really love to go to Iceland because the landscape looks incredible. I've had a lot of friends who went there and I was so jealous of all their photos. One of my favorite vacations was recently I went to Paris for the Rainbow Six Majors, and I just spent a few days walking around, and I didn't really make a plan. I had no schedule really. I just knew that I wanted to see a few things, and Paris was really incredible for just walking around and just having a good time, just being a part of the community. It was really, really nice. But I also would really love to just go to a tropical beach somewhere and do nothing for a week. No social media, no tweeting, nothing, just being by the water and just hanging out. I think professional gamers and casual gamers have a very symbiotic relationship. I think it's important for both to be supported in order for the others to flourish. So for example, with Siege, of course, the pro scene is something that people can kind of aspire to, and it inspires casual gamers to pick up the game because they can see what their skill could become if they were to play a lot and practice, and it gives them someone to learn from as well. But I think for the pro community, they need the casual gamers as well, because the casual gamers are picking up the games and, you know, showing the developers that they still care about investing in this. There needs to be an audience, you know. I mean, who wants to have a pro community and like a esports league if no one's gonna watch it, right? So if people don't understand the game and they don't care about it, and they're, even if they're just casual gamers, then, you know, does the pro scene even exist really if no one's gonna watch? So I think that it's important for both to exist and both to be supported. I don't know how much esports actually affects people who don't really watch it, not directly, but probably indirectly behind the scenes with, you know, the devs and the budgets and that kind of thing. But before I really started watching the Pro League for Siege, it didn't affect me on like a daily basis. I didn't really even pay attention to it other than having people ask me whether or not I was watching. And now I pay more attention to it, and I actually try and learn from the pros that I've become friends with because I want to get better at the game. But before that, it didn't really do that much for me. Not directly anyways. So one of my really, 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 really big pet peeves, pun not intended, is when people keep exotic animals as pets. I hate that so much because most of the time it's somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, taking an animal that doesn't belong where they're putting it. They don't know how to take care of it. They're not providing for it. And then some innocent person gets hurt. And I can't stand that people just think that they can like have a pet tiger. And it's like, you don't know how to have a pet tiger. What are you doing? You know, obviously there's exceptions for people who are running kind of rehabilitation, and that sort of thing is much different. I just hate when like any random person is like, yeah, you know, I can have a pet crocodile in my house. It's not going to eat my child. You know, it's a wild animal. Like, you can't do that. But to answer your question, if I could have any exotic animal as a pet, I think the first thing that most people would probably go to would be something like a very large cat, like a tiger or a panther. If I could guarantee that they were obviously being taken care of properly and weren't gonna hurt anyone, then that would be really cool. I've seen a lot of videos of people with grizzly bears as like pets, and that almost always goes poorly, but if I could have a grizzly bear as a pet, that'd be really sick. Those things are just really awesome. Or like a polar bear. I used to read the Dark Materials books when I was a kid, so the Golden Compass is the popular one, and they had the like giant armored polar bears, and when I was a kid, man, I wanted to have a giant armored polar bear as my pet. I think Twitchcon has surpassed all the other conventions as my favorite one, and I think it's because it's the most relevant to what I do, and it's kind of guaranteed that most people that I know will be going. I used to go to pretty much every PAX, but it just seems like over the years that people stopped going, and like Twitch doesn't even go to PAX South anymore, so it's kind of like half the time a lot of the streamers don't even go. I've been to like 4 PAX West or something, and so it's kind of the same thing over and over, and there's just not a lot that's focused on Twitch and our community specifically. So I think TwitchCon is now my favorite. And I'm very much looking forward to TwitchCon in San Diego this year because San Diego was incredible when they did it a few years ago. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And it's just a really good time to be able to see the most people from Twitch, both on the streaming side and on the viewer side. The first streamer that I subbed to was this guy named John Bams. He is mostly a Minecraft streamer, and that's because I got started on Twitch because I wanted to learn how to play modded Minecraft, and there were some guys in my office who were starting up a server and I had no idea how to play it, so I just went to the Minecraft section of Twitch, and he was probably the first person that I ever really watched, and I made a lot of friends in that community who are still around today, which is really awesome. Thank you so much for all those questions, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one. Later.